Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us once again, and I hope all of you are having a lovely, lovely day as we get things kicked off here. And that's right, we have one of our favorite guests on with us, Sandy Berger herself, as we are going to be talking about home automation. I can think of no better person to be on the show to, really get into this idea that you have a speaker in your home, and for, I think a couple of years ago, you could classify it as a plot by the FBI to bug your home, and now people are doing it willingly, and they're doing it, and they're paying good money for it. So find out why and what are your options, because, the catalog grows seems like every month. These companies come out with something trying to be new, innovative, and really catch your attention. So again, today's going to be a roundup of home automation as we talk to Sandy Berger. So before we get into that, a couple things to note, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything and anything to do with Computer America, be that, show notes, links to our guest website, links to any articles or products that we talk about. Just if you're busy or you can't write something down or you don't remember it, well, don't worry, we have you covered at Computer America. Also, there's a contest. We give away a prize every single Friday from Logitech. So, check out computeramerica.com for more details, and you can enter the contest there. It's very, very simple. And then the last thing is, of course, the live video feature, where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. That's right, very, very cool. Check that out, and hey, you might find something that you like, because we have a lot of content, a lot of guests, and there's a lot to check out there at Computer America. So, okay, with all of that said, we're just going to jump into this. So once again, Computer America's own consumer electronics expert and correspondent, and Sandy Berger from CompuKiss, does a lot of writing, writes for a bunch of different publications, and is just very knowledgeable about consumer electronics and what you need to know about. So, Sandy, welcome on to Computer America.
Hey, Ben, it's great to be with you again.
Yeah, this is awesome. Glad that you could join us once again. And wow, we have a lot to talk about, because I think since the last time we talked to you, or really anyone about home automation, there's been, half a dozen products released from the likes of Google, Apple, Amazon. So yeah, before we get started, let's give people a little bit of background. Sandy, where do you come from? What makes you qualified to be on Computer America?
Oh, I've been in computers for a long, long time. Actually started off as a computer programmer and went on to having my own consulting company. And that turned into a writing gig because I had a lot of people who said to me, you write really well and you explain things really well. Can you write some more? I started writing for a local newspaper here in North Carolina, which I'm still writing for like 15 years later. And I've written for AARP and just a wide variety of different magazines and things like that. So it's been a fun ride, and I hope to continue doing it for quite a while, because I absolutely love what's going on in the world of technology and how fast it's moving.
Yeah, and you've been around long enough, and I've been paying attention to computers long enough that we've kind of moving away from, and I'm glad that 5 years ago, maybe 5-10 years ago, there was a conversation, like the only conversation about computers was mainly desktop versus laptop, and that was the conversation to have. Nowadays, technology is in everything, and you're in a good field. It covers a lot of different subjects now.
Oh, it definitely does. And the thing that's moving so quickly is voice recognition and voice assistance. So now, we have Alexa, Cortana, Google Home. They're just coming out of the woodwork, and the number of devices that are being built into with voice assistance is unbelievable. I just read something recently from IHS Marketing. They propose that there will be more than a billion consumer devices by the end of 2017 with some kind of digital assistant. Now,
That
we're talking a few months from now, 4 billion devices.
That is, and I mean, just kind of for anyone out there who maybe is not part of that billion, or hasn't really invested themselves in this kind of smart assistant. Uh, I mean, what does that mean for the average person? Does that mean that they have, can they ignore it at this point, or should they ignore it, or what makes it such a good assistant that it's being built into so many devices? Why is this so nice?
Well, it's nice because it's so useful, and on top of that, it's just plain fun to be using these devices. And you said, do you have to buy into it? No, you don't. Obviously, there are still billions of people who don't have anything with voice assistance in it. But once you get one device with voice assistance in it, you realize how much it can do. Now, the first device that we've talked about for a few years, because I got the very first Amazon Echo that came out, and that was, I think, almost 3 years, close to 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I was amazed at what it could do when I first got it. It could play music, it could talk to you, answer questions, that sort of thing. But now, and what Amazon has done is fabulous. They keep adding things to their Amazon Echo devices without charging you more or making you buy a new device. So I am using the same device I was using almost 3 years ago, only it has 10 times the capabilities that it had then. Now it's got little games you can play. It's hooked to your TV. It's hooked to your lights. So I just say, Alexa, turn on the lights, and she does it. And I happen to have Alexa in my room here. So if you hear her answer me, that's because I forgot to turn her off.
Right, yeah, and
But
and and that's a problem that I think Google is trying to fix, and Amazon is following closely in suit. The idea that anyone can access, or these devices, and you can probably speak to this better than I could, but they're getting smarter. Even the same iteration, even the same generation that you buy, 1, 2, 3 years ago, they're updating the software so much that I think the next problem is they're trying to fix the idea that if you have two people living in the home, there's no way to kind of personalize it. It's like whoever talks to it is the same person. And now they're starting to come out with the idea of profiles where, two different people will get two different, kind of commands.
right. Well, Amazon Echo has always had profiles. However, they've been hard to it's been difficult to change from one profile to the other. So you would have to say, this is Sandy. I want you to, give me my appointments for today and not give me my husband's appointments for today. But Google Home is the one that came up with an answer to that. Google can tell from your voice whether it's Sandy or my husband. Okay. And so all you have to give me my appointments, and Google will give you the proper appointments for him or her or whoever.
Right. And that is going to be really, really cool because, I think as more people, kind of start using these things, and especially homes with kids, we have seen reports of kids saying, Alexa, order me cookies and video games. And yeah, guess what shows up and gets charged to their parents' card because it can't recognize it.
Well, it cannot, like Alexa, still cannot recognize the difference. However, we should tell everybody that there are stops you can easily put. All these devices are connected to your Wi-Fi network, so they're connected to your cell phone, and you can access them by going into your cell phone and just saying, um, you know, don't let anybody order anything from this. Then you don't,
Right.
or have a PIN number that the kids would have to give if they want to do the ordering. So there are ways to stop that. That was something that happened, Ben, right at the very beginning when they were shaking all this through. They've really thought through this now.
And then, oh, and I mean, just real quick, the other problem there was, and I'm sure they fixed it by now, but people were getting lazy. And I think you could like buy like little 10-15 second TV clips and whatnot. I'm sorry, TV ads and or radio ads, and they were putting the smallest amount of ad, and then they were essentially messages that strictly said, Google Home or I'm trying not to say it, but device turn on, and then navigate to, and it would navigate to like a longer ad, their website, a video, and it would essentially turn your smart speaker into the second part of the ad, where the initial short ad was simply directing your smart device to, again, wherever
Right.
they want to send it to.
Right.
I think
And I
that's been
think they
solved.
pretty much eliminated that and all the big major faults that it had, and it didn't really have that many. But all that's been worked through, and
Good.
now they keep adding new things. For instance, Alexa has just added routines. So basically, you can program it right in your cell phone very easily. I mean, you tell it to say good morning, and here's what I want you to do when I say good morning to you. And you can give 4 or 5 things. You can say, turn the light on, turn the coffee pot on, whatever else you want it to do when you say good morning. Um, or whatever your words that you want to use. So those are called routines. The other thing that both Google came out with it first and Amazon followed on this one is that they can now make free phone calls to anywhere in the United States, Canada, or Mexico.
You know, and
And
and and
it's
and
really cool.
yeah, and just to kind of interject on that part, if people wanted kind of a testament on how good those phone calls can be, we've actually been using that feature. Like if any browser, you go to Hangouts, create a Google account, and you can call any phone from your browser. And we've been doing that for the show for a couple times now. We haven't told anyone until now, but the call quality through Google in their in their Hangout / phone call service is really clear. Like it's on par with any cell phone out there.
Yeah, it's been excellent. Especially Google has been really excellent. Now, Alexa has just, or the Echo, I should say, Amazon has just started on their free phone calls. So I haven't used it quite as much as I've used the Google phone calling, and the Google phone calling is, as you said, quite good.
Yeah. So, and I think, we're hitting on a lot of, kind of random features here as they pop up in our conversation, but a good way to kind of get a good overview is if we went one by one. I'm thinking we'll start with Amazon, and then we'll move to Google, and then we'll, kind of wrap it up with Apple, because their offerings are, to be frank, the slimmest. So, since you were last on, I mean, folks, if you want to go out and check some of the past interviews, and we've lightly touched on pretty much all these, but they have some new products, since we last talked. And so, if you would, Sandy, if let's run through their products.
Yeah. They have some amazing new products and a great proliferation of products. I am just amazed. I think that in total, Amazon has they announced recently, a couple months ago, 2 new products called the Echo Show and the Echo Look. And now they have announced 6 more new products. This is all in preparation for Apple's big device to come out. Apple's device is supposed to come out called Apple HomePod sometime in December. And I think that both Amazon and Google are trying to really take advantage of the lead that they have in this marketplace. So coming out with all new things to purchase is a good way to do that, don't you think?
I guess my bigger question isn't so much, who's the first to market with the product, because that's only part of, part of the whole equation. I think, and I'll ask you kind of personally, but I know myself, each one of these ecosystems, they are huge. When you think about how often you use Amazon versus Google versus Apple, I have an iPhone, I have a Gmail account, and I shop Amazon Prime all the time. I mean, I'm invested in all three of these, so Do you think that it's going to matter where you kind of come from on the spectrum? Like if you're an Android user and you're a Gmail user, then you're going to want to go with Google products, or do you think it's kind of independent of the existing infrastructure each one is already built?
It's becoming a little bit more independent than it was at first because when Amazon came out with their Echo, they basically had a certain following. The same thing when Google Home came out, they had a certain following. Um, and the ecosystem was built around that. But more and more devices now, I mean, there's everything from smart blinds to smart thermostats to smart watering devices.
Hmm.
And all of those, plus the light bulbs and everything else that are already out there, are now starting to use both. So I'm seeing more and more things that are popping up that can say, okay, we can work with Amazon and we can also work with Google. Some are also saying they're going to be able to work with Apple's HomeKit when it comes out. And again, more and more of that. So I have both the Amazon Echo and the Google Home. And 99% of the devices that I have, the switches, the light bulbs, and everything else, and my whole house is wireless. But 99% of those can work with either one of these devices. So they're not quite as reliant on the ecosystem as they used to be when they first came out.
Right. No, and that is definitely a good thing. I think for a lot of people because it means that you don't have, if you are heavily invested in Apple, that doesn't mean that you have to sit on your hands until the HomePod comes out. It means you can actually pick one up, and it's actually, a pretty nice thing to see them working together. And like you said, the skills that come out, I'm not seeing any one of them trying to say that, hey, we're closed and we have a closed ecosystem, we're not going to let anyone in use our products. It's more how many skills can you cram into one device, and that's going to be the most attractive. Which one can do the
It
most things?
it is, and Apple is really late to the game. And the reason I say that is that I have an Apple iPhone.
Hmm?
Okay, I can now use my Apple iPhone to control both the Google Home and the Amazon Echo. So there are apps that go on the iPhone that can control both of those. And this goes back again, Ben, to the ecosystem idea. Do you have to stay in one ecosystem? No, you don't. I have an Apple phone, I have a Google Home, I have an Amazon Echo, and they all work together and they will all work, from each other like that.
Yeah, and although I will say that Google recently had their big presentation, and they were showing off some interconnectivity between their smart speaker and the new Google Pixel 2 that they just announced.
Their
You know,
phone.
yeah, so there's going to be kind of key parts that they can kind of play with each other, but uh, not mandatory whatsoever. So
Right.
again, let's kind of get back to Amazon and the Echo. So uh, let's start with the Echo Dot. If you could just give a short summary and kind of who that's best for. So Echo Dot.
Okay, well, they've got wide variety now, even wider than ever before. The Echo Show, they've just reduced the price of that to $199. It came out a few months ago at $229,
Hmm.
and that is an Echo device that has a screen on it. I'm fairly unimpressed with that, except it's a great device for talking room to room, almost like a video. Connection throughout your house. Also, you can, if you've got an older parent or grandparent that you want to check up on, the Echo Show is a great device. But now Amazon has come out with the second generation Echo. So the first generation Echo that I've been using for 2.5 years, is it outdated? No, that's the beauty of it. Amazon has and keeps on making my old Echo better and better. But they've come out with a new one. The new one, actually, the original Echo, if you don't know what it looks like out there, anybody out there, it's about a 9-inch cylinder, about 3 inches wide.
Hmm.
Um, that is all black, okay, or white. You can get black or white. Well, the new one, the second generation Echo, is now can have a fabric cover or a wooden cover, and it's got better music, better voice recognition, and it's shorter. So it's only about maybe 6 inches versus 9 inches from the other one. The fabric is interesting. The fabric idea is interesting because, as you might know, Google Home is covered with fabric. And evidently, that is a little cheaper because they're selling the second generation Echoes for $99. But if you want the wooden base on it, it's going to be $119. So,
It's and it's kind of interesting that Amazon is following suit with Google. I think the likes of Apple and a lot of other tech companies out there, brushed aluminum or kind of just that metal look. It's very sleek, very modern, but it's not the purpose of these devices, right? I mean, they're meant to be in the middle of on a nightstand or on a coffee table. Like they're meant to be out and about. So I think with
right.
the cloth, they're going a bit more softer, hoping that people are willing to put them where they need to be.
Right, and I have to think because they're charging a premium for the wooden look on theirs, that maybe the fabric is less expensive, so it's a way to save money. The original Echo was much more than $99 when it first came out.
Oh, it's 200. Yeah.
So yeah, so $99 is a great. I think it was 179 or something like that. The second generation Echo at $99 with better speakers and Dolby, and the music is going to have to be better because that's where Apple is going to excel. So it should be pretty darn good. And I just want to tell everybody, jump in now. There's no reason to wait. You can add other devices, you can add other light bulbs and things like that. It's all starting to work together. So you haven't wasted your money if you go out and buy an Echo and then decide later you'd rather have a Google Home. They'll both work in the same house.
And just from a security standpoint, I mean, just talking about, you know, I, I I haven't really heard of really any kind of security issues so far where someone's been recorded without their knowledge, or someone has been kind of hacked and they unlocked a smart home kind of door lock. I mean, these things have been relatively, for how prolific they're getting, they've been relatively low key when it comes to security issues.
Yeah, they have because they've made them pretty darn good. And I don't say that there's no problem with any of these devices. There are sure to be problems, but for the most part, they're quite secure. Um,
Right.
the one thing I wanted to tell you, because you said, the first Echo was shiny, and they're looking for shiny things. Amazon also has an Echo Plus that they've just announced, and that's going to be selling for $149. And that is a sleek, sleek silver device. Looks
Yeah, I
like the
see that
first
now.
Amazon Echo, the
Yeah.
taller 9-inch one. But it has a built in router, home router. So if you want to do something like Philips light bulbs, which right now require a separate router, the Echo Plus will have that already built in, and you can just start adding things as you go. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is getting into, kind of another idea that, maybe we were going to poke at, kind of closer when we get to Google, but if you could just, kind of say, is this Amazon's attempt to either make this, kind of more connected devices feasible, or is Amazon looking to get into routers and mesh networking?
That's a very good question. I don't see any indication that Amazon is trying to get into the mesh network thing as Google is. And there's a rumor that Google Home devices soon will have mesh networking built in, which we can talk about next. But I don't see any indication. But again, these companies are trying to imitate each other. They're trying to take the best from one device and make it theirs. So they're playing copycat to a big extent. It's great for the consumers though, because we get more and more, and it's just a really good deal.
Yeah, and one functionality that I think is going to become much, much more popular here in the next 6 to 12 months, with these devices, is the fact that obviously Amazon had a very high-profile acquisition with Whole Foods,
Right.
and then you have Google making sweeping deals with Walmart. So now you have kind of Amazon versus Google. Um, using these to actually, kind of buy your groceries and do, you know, I think it's gonna be a lot of tedious task. I mean, Amazon already has, delivering toilet paper to your door, but now it's gonna be grocery delivery services, and I think these smart speakers are gonna be key, for these projects.
They already are to a certain extent because you can do all your shopping on the Amazon Echo, and the Echo actually has a list of special prices that you can get only through by ordering through the Echo. So it all gets very interesting as you get on and on to it. And imagine that you can order something from anywhere, anytime you think about it. So if you've got your whole house wired with Amazon Echoes and you suddenly remember that you need Kleenex, no matter where you are or what you're doing, you can go ahead and either put it on your grocery list or order it right there. It's really useful, and that's what I started talking about. This whole thing was not only is it fun to use these, but they do some useful things for you.
Right, right, right. So before we move off of Amazon, and wow, we've already almost dedicated half the show to Amazon. But that's but that's probably going to work out just fine because Amazon, I would kind of pit them as kind of the leader in this space. Have we talked about the Spot yet? I don't think we have because I
No, the Echo Spot is another thing that they've just come out with, and it's about 3 inches round. It looks actually like an alarm clock,
right.
but it does have video on it, so you can do little things like in the kitchen. You could probably put a recipe up on there,
I
and that's
and
$129.
Right, yeah. I would kind of you know for anyone out there trying to visualize this, think of it as the Echo Dot is to the Echo as the Echo Spot is to the Echo Show. It's I'm assuming kind of similar. Cheaper, smaller, kind of be able to put it in more
Right.
places. Do you see smart speakers? And because obviously, a lot of the smart speakers that we talk about today, they don't have screens. They're simply speakers that you talk back to you, and that's it. And the idea of a screen, it's in select products, but it's not across all products. Like I think where we're used to with, between printers and smartphones and tablets and blah blah blah, screens are pretty integral to how we use devices, and it's
They
not.
are, except that the voice takes over a lot of that. Now, it is nice on an Echo Show or an Echo Spot that you can actually get the lyrics to the song you're listening to right on the screen. It's got some really neat uses, but and a recipe that you could follow right on the screen. But the whole idea is to get away from the screens.
from
So,
from touching things.
as
Yeah.
we'll see when we get to Google's home devices, they don't have anything right now with a screen. That doesn't mean it won't come out soon, but they don't have it right now.
Right. So, and you're probably right. I mean, the idea of a touchscreen is for easy navigation, but if they are trying to optimize for voice, then you don't exactly need that kind of optimization. So,
Right. So you take something like the new Fire TV that came out. It's 4K, it's HDR. It has Amazon Echo built in. So
hmm,
you can talk to it's got huge screen, but still the Echo, the idea of being able to talk to it. If you want a certain movie, you just tell it what movie you want. A certain director, you tell it what director you want. And so there's a lot of ways that this voice can be used to enhance screens or to be used without screens. It really doesn't matter. We're going to see voice assistants everywhere.
I'd give it 18 months. I'm about 18 months from winning a bet with Craig that he said that we are never going to be talking to our televisions, that handheld remotes are going to be the thing and they're never going to go away. Uh, I promise. I'm like 18 months away from winning that bet. It's talking to
Well,
your
I don't know. The
television.
Fire TV, you are talking to the TV right now.
Yeah, well, but he says that
Same with Roku.
it will never, kind of replace all, kind of controls. But I think if they make it intuitive enough, just, make it loud, you could say, just make it louder and it goes up by 10 points. It's, I think it has a lot of promise. So, and Sandy, we are like 30 seconds away from a break, but I think when we come back, we're going to shift gears and I'll let you choose when we come back, but either the HomePod or Google and their line of products.
Okay.
All right, so everyone out there, the music means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more Computer America, more Sandy Berger, CompuKiss, and that's right, we're doing smart speakers and home automation roundup. So anything and everything you need to know about what's available as of today, we got you covered. So we'll be right back, more Computer America, just after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. We are 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And that's right, we're talking to Sandy Berger, and yeah, we're doing all things home automation and smart speakers. If you're just joining us, Computer America, I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and thank you for joining us as we are shifting gears from Amazon, one of the first and probably one of the best in the field, to to either Apple or Google. We'll find out real quick. But before we even do that, Sandy, I wanted to kind of get your feeling on a story that we did the other day. At least it was an article that was reported, and I'm sure you are familiar with a small company called Sony. And
Sony, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
you've probably heard of them.
Yeah.
How familiar are you with their Aibo line of products, their robotic dog line of products?
I had an Aibo, the original Aibo, which was years and years ago. Amazing what that dog could do. I have not seen anything recently on Aibo, though. Tell me
Right.
about it.
Yeah. For everyone out there who who does not remember this, it was it was a robotic dog, and the things it could do are kind of reminiscent of what you expect smart toys to do now, but it was 15 years before other toys
Right,
started to do it. So
right.
very, very impressive. And Sony talked about they want another push back into home robotics because they see smart speakers and they say, smart speakers are great, but they feel like these things should be able to do more than just sit on a table. They think robots are the way to go. Sony, Japanese, hey, what do you expect? Um, so they came out, said they are renewing their Aibo line. Everyone can rejoice. Um, Turns out that Sony is going to position their Aibo, and this is kind of what I wanted you to react to, was they're going to reintroduce the Aibo, but it's going to be a smart speaker. It's going to have all the functionality of, say, an Alexa or a Google Home, but built into an Aibo, a little robotic dog that hopefully walks a little better than the old one, and it follows you around the house. So it will be your home companion that will be able to control your home. So instead of talking to a speaker on a table, you would talk to this little robotic dog that follows you from room to room.
I think that's a fabulous idea for a lot of older people who actually live alone and need some company, and also who are aging and maybe their hands and eyes don't work as well as they used to, and a little dog can actually be a companion, company, and do things for them. So I think that's a great idea. I think Sony is coming out with some amazing things. They're big into high def, which is something I really love in music. Um, but they're also coming out with these sort of speaker things, which are wonderful. Sonos has built Alexa into their Sonos speakers, and Samsung and others are not far behind on releasing this. So I guess that's what we're basically talking about. This show is how many of these new devices are going to have voice assistants built into them.
It's probably going to be a lot because these smart speakers are going to, and just like you said, is absolutely kind of what you were alluding to, where personal assistants and virtual assistants are probably going to be one and the same. And for Japan, caring for the elderly, blah blah blah, they see these robots as kind of a solution for home care. So yeah, and again, probably a couple months out in the making. We'll see what Sony does with it, but the idea that these smart speakers, they can come in more than just soup can form. They can start to take other forms as well. So that's probably
That's
going to be a pretty
absolutely
big
true.
push.
Yeah. And Sony is really big into items like this because they have a bigger aging population than we do.
Right.
Um, and so they've been working on stuff like this for years, and it'll be really fun to watch all that.
Right. And of course, we get to benefit from it as well. So, with that being said, Iabo aside, yeah, again, I'll let you choose Google or Apple because I think Apple's going to be a little bit slimmer, but yeah, dealer's
Well, I
choice.
think I think we should talk since we talked about Amazon and the products they've just come out with. Let's talk about Google and the Google Home products that they've just come out with.
Sure.
Um, the first one being Google Home Mini, which is kind of like the Echo Dot. Um, didn't I say recently, like last half hour, that they copy each other?
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
That's
Right.
exactly what's happened here. I mean, Google has now, they have a home device which is about 6 inches tall, fabric covered, by the way. Um, but now they've come out with the Google Mini, which is going to be $49, same exact, almost the exact same price as the Google Dot, as the Amazon Dot.
Hmm.
And it's going to do basically the same thing and give you the ability to put Google Home in another room at an inexpensive price. Google is saying it looks like a donut. It is the size of a donut, fabric covered, and it comes in several different colors. So it's attractive, and I think if you're buying into the Google Home idea, it's a good thing to try out. I haven't tried it yet, though.
Right. And it says that you can do some obvious things, some some interplay there with it says you can control, of course, all the smart devices, but specifically they tout the functionality with the Chromecast, which is another Google product. Part of me kind of wishes that this kind of doubled as a Chromecast, so you could plug it directly into your TV and it could do everything and be a Chromecast. But it'd probably make the price go up 15 bucks. So
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you've got a Chromecast, which is somewhere around $50, and a Google Home Mini that's somewhere around $50, you're actually getting a lot for your money. And I should say that the reason I love the Google Home devices is because of the Chromecast that's built in. And Sony is one company that's also building Chromecast into their speakers. So basically, I can say to my Google Home device, Google, hey Google, turn on the television, or hey Google, play such and such a music um,
right,
song or something everywhere in the house. Okay, it will play on my Google Home devices. It will play on all my Chromecast devices. Since my television is attached to an AV receiver that has Chromecast built in, it will play on my speakers throughout the house. I think that music end of it is phenomenal for Google.
right.
Um, Google can do that now for their own devices. So they just recently synchronized the devices so that you can have the same music playing in two different rooms with Amazon Echo, but you have to have two Echoes. With Google, you can play it on Chromecast devices. I have Sony speakers. I can play it on my Sony speakers. I can play music everywhere. And so I really think that the Google Home devices excel, really excel as far as music goes.
Yeah, and that is, of course, a great selling point. I think that a lot of people, they are smart speakers, they are smart assistants, but a lot of the use that you're going to get out of these is they are speakers, first and foremost. So playing music through them, probably a pretty big deal.
Right. And Google has bought into that with the announcement of the I think that the minis are either available now or available soon.
Hmm.
But within a few months they're going to have another device which is looks like a speaker. It's called Google Home Max. And I'm guesstimating the size, maybe 9 inches wide and 4 inches high. It looks like a speaker. It's fabric covered on the front, comes in black, gray, or white. Um, but it is going to do all sorts of music. It's from the specs. It looks like it's going to be the best music player out there as far as voice assistant devices, and it's going to do high def music, which I mentioned earlier. See, high def is, you can only get that on certain speakers. And yet, high def really comes the closest to playing a vinyl record. I still have a vinyl record collection. Love the depth of it. And you get that same depth with high def music. Um, Ben, we could do a whole show explaining to people what high def music. Maybe we should next time.
Well, yeah,
It-
and just real quick for everyone, next time, I mean, we could definitely talk about high def audio. I know you're very passionate about that, but I also wanted to do, going into the holidays, a phone, kind of overview as well. But, hey, nothing
Sure.
says we can't do 50-50. And by the way, I've been looking at the pictures, folks. If you're watching the video portion, these speakers, you guessed about 9 inches. Um, this thing looks pretty big. Like, maybe it's a 910.
Bigger than that?
Yeah, maybe it's bigger than that because it
Yeah.
looks to be about 910, maybe even a foot tall, and then it's about 6 inches wide. And I say tall because they have it either set on its set, so it's either lengthwise, or they have it set up vertically, and it seems like it can obviously go either way. And it looks like two big whopping speakers. This thing's pretty big, so I can definitely see why you say it's going to be the best speaker. I mean, a price to match as well, but it's a big whopping device.
Yeah, the price is $399. It is, I told you previously, Ben, this is a speaker that I want. And
Right.
naturally it's got to be that expensive. But if it lives up to the hype that they're giving it, it will be amazing because I know that they're coming out with this because Apple is coming out with their HomePod, and because Apple has connections to a lot of music devices and music companies. The Apple device is going to sound really good. So the most interesting thing this holiday season will be to stand up and listen to both the Apple HomePod and the Google Home Max and see which one you think sounds the best.
And that's going to be important because, as you found out, you're about 3 years into this and you are just now starting to look for a replacement for your devices. I mean, these speakers, they're probably going to last you a good, 3, 4, 5 years before you should go out and get another one. There's not that, 18-month, 2 year recycle rate that many other devices have.
Right, especially phones. You know how the phones, they come out with new phones every year and you're supposed to go buy new ones, and it just gets really crazy. I am, like you said, also very hopeful that the rate of new products will slow for this, and it has already with the Amazon devices, except for now when they've come out with just a rash of new devices all at once.
Right.
But they have not replaced, except for the Echo, the regular Echo. They haven't replaced anything.
Right. So we have the Google Home Max, obviously going to be for high def, like you said. The enthusiast. Home is probably going to be the standard, and the minis is just going to be kind of the answer to the spot, just in a few rooms. Google's kind of lineup altogether. How would you kind of compare it to kind of Amazon, obviously, because they have, it seems like a few more devices than Google.
They do because well, Amazon has more devices with Alexa built in, but if you take into consideration the Chromecast devices that Google has, which work with their Google Home device, they've got a Chromecast Ultra, which is just for 4K TV, Chromecast Audio, which turns any old device that you have or new device that has an auxiliary port will be able to turn it into a Chromecast device. So my Google Home plays not only my AV receivers, speakers, television, but it plays some old Bose radios that I have. I've put on a Google Chromecast Audio, and I can play music through them using their speakers. Bose speakers have always been really good, but you know how every time they come out with something new, you think you need it. So the old Bose devices are still not as useful as the new ones, except that I can use mine as a Chromecast with the Google Home,
Right.
which is really cool.
Right. So, and yeah, again, there's a few more offerings from Google. I may, just kind of ask you real quick how you felt about the Google Pixel Buds, and just kind of ask you about those real quick before we move on to Apple. But before we move on to the Buds, just let's do a Google, kind of smart speaker roundup, and that is, I mean, Google seems like they have it, pretty well under control. Like again, they don't match Amazon 1-to-1, but there's
Right.
nothing that says that they're inferior to Amazon for what they have.
No, nothing. Both Google and Amazon, I like their devices very much. What Google has that Amazon doesn't have is the Pixel, which they've just come out with the Pixel 2, which is the Google phone. I have not seen the Pixel 2 yet, but I've seen the one. I actually reviewed it and I liked it very, very much. Now, Amazon at one time came out with their own phone and it was a big flop. Might have been too early, I don't know, but that's one thing that the Google does have is they do have a phone which also works, of course, with other things that they come out with. Google also has their Daydream View, which is their virtual reality goggles, are now $99, which is amazing to me.
Right.
They've got some other things that they threw out there, which I'm not sure how they're going to work yet, but there's something called Google Clips. Have you seen that, Ben?
Yeah, and the way that and I had another guest on that was, when they first announced it, we were blue skying about it, and we were all kind of thinking, well, what's the point of that? And we had another guest on, Wolfcom. They make police body cameras. They're making a consumer-facing product, yada yada yada. Um, and I think it's going to be essentially that, where if you have, let's say, a dash cam, and we all know the use of a dash cam, it's
Hmm.
extremely helpful. I think that the Google Clips is either going to function as a pseudo body camera for people, or you're going to put it on, during events, or let's say you are, going to Disney World, or you're, taking your dog for a walk, and it will automatically start to take pictures, or it will automatically record when something happens. And again, it's either going to be kind of a personal safety device, or it's going to function as set it and forget it, and you're going to start capturing pictures and moments that you didn't think to capture before and you'd like. I mean, they haven't been exactly clear about the best use case for it, but I think it's going to fill a niche that right now is kind of underserved, because the only other option is to carry your phone in your hand 24/7.
Right. No, you're right. I'm sure there'll be places that this will um, actually be superior to using a camera or a cell phone. It's going to be $249, so it's interesting that it's not a cheesy little type thing you clip on your body. It must have a fairly good camera, and I think that will be interesting. The other thing that we didn't talk about with Amazon is they have something coming up. I don't even, most of these things that we talked about today, you can either buy now or pre-order. But the one that's not pre-orderable on Amazon is called the Echo button, and that's a $20 button. Now, we've talked on your show about other buttons that are internet connected and all that, but these seem to be like they're going to be just for playing games. So that kind of expands the use of the Echo a little bit, which I think is really nice. Amazon's been into games for a long time, and I already play some games on my Echo. But these Echo buttons could be something that's very interesting.
I definitely can't speak to these buttons or playing games on these devices because I'll admit I'm a total snob when it comes to games. I have a way too expensive computer to play way too underpowered games, and the idea of playing video games or finding any kind of games that are worth playing on these devices, I'm sure that people like it, and I'm sure that people also enjoyed like the little freebie games at hotel rooms
Well,
and those kind of
I
like.
think
I
they're
just
I
can't.
think they're aiming at a different
Oh, for sure.
generation with these. Like you can play Jeopardy on Alexa.
Okay.
You can also play oh, what's that game where you uh,
Scrabble.
20 questions.
Okay.
Okay, and they're expanding those things, and they're really fun family games that the kids come over here and play those games with Alexa, but also you can play with the whole family, and maybe older people would be a lot more interested in playing Jeopardy than playing a video game. So they're targeting a different clientele. The other thing that Amazon has targeted that Google doesn't really target is books, digital books.
Hmm.
Amazon obviously owns Audible, so they have all their Alexa can read all the Audible books, but a lot of digital books that you buy on Amazon, the Echo can read in her voice. And it excels at reading books. You can walk into one room and have Alexa read to you. You want to go to bed, you just tell her to stop there or to pause there. Go in the bedroom and tell her to read your book again, and she'll start reading it. Um, so, if I had to compare these devices, and people ask me to do this all the time, they say, "What's better, a Google Home or Echo, Amazon Echo?"
Right.
And I have to say that I think if you're a book lover and you like to listen to audiobooks, Amazon definitely has the lead. They excel in that. Now, Google Home, you can play books on through their audio, Google Play, but it's a lot more difficult to set up, and it's not something you're going to use every day, at least in its present state.
Right.
On the other hand, the thing that I like, and I've already stated this, but I love the way that you can play music through your whole house. You can play on very high class speakers, higher class speakers on the Google than you can at Amazon.
Yeah.
So if you're a
Yeah.
music lover, get Google. If you're a book lover, get Amazon. If you're like me and you love both, then you got to have both.
All right, no, and makes perfect sense.
Uh,
And so we'll save the the Pixel Buds and things like that for later, because there was some very cool translation things you could do with those. But whatever.
yeah.
In these last 5 minutes that we have, which I think is about all the time we probably need to allot to Apple, HomePod. So give us an overview of what we can expect, because, like you said, behind the curve, and Apple has not yet released it.
Well, that's the thing. And you have to stop and wonder uh, what they might have up their sleeve. Of course, I wondered that with the phones, the Google 10 phone, and I was a bit disappointed in that. And that was just a personal thing. But Google HomePod, Google has announced the HomeKit years ago. So actually, there are people that are making their devices right now that are making them able to play with Apple, just like able to play with Amazon or able to play with Google. Um, but the HomePod, they just announced maybe 6 months ago or so at their last big Apple.
Hmm.
No, it was longer than that.
No,
But anyway,
yeah, right.
when was that?
That was probably somewhere in March, when they had their
Yeah,
conference. Yeah, yeah.
right. So that's when they announced the HomePod, but they didn't tell too much about it. And they're kind of holding back on that. Again, Google and Amazon are assuming that uh, the speakers are going to be wonderful in the HomePod, but it's not going to be cheap. They've already announced the price, or unless it changes, it's going to be $349, and it won't be out until December of this year, which is a little late for the Christmas selling season.
Yeah, definitely, definitely a little late, but I don't know. It seems like Apple is more, and it's weird because Apple was, I think, with Siri, one of the first people to come out with to come out with a digital assistant. And then also, it seems like Cortana as well. We haven't heard much of her and from Microsoft, but it's like these companies that start with the digital assistants, they don't follow through or they don't take them to their eventual next step. And if anything else, HomePod feels like a reaction product. Like, oh yeah, we're doing one too, and it's gonna be awesome. And it's like, oh, but it's not gonna be ready for a couple months. Like, this seemed very reactionary, but it does have all of Apple's kind of trademark stamps on it, where it does look like a very good speaker. I mean, you were praising Google. This one seems to be, kind of in a similar vein. It's going to cost a little bit less than Google's, the Max or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still Apple coming late to the market, probably with one of the best products on the market, but still just late.
Yeah, late. And will it be enough to draw the Apple fans? In other words, $349 for the device itself. You've got to compare that with $99 for the Echo Show and $129 for Google Home. So it's almost 3 times as expensive. And all right, Apple fans, they expect Apple to be more expensive, that they're going to get something really special for that extra money. And I think it's going to be a hard sell for Apple to come through with something really special that
Yeah.
warrants $349 price
You
tag.
you made the ultimatum that if you enjoy audiobooks, you go with Amazon. If you enjoy music, go with Google. I think if you can break that down a little bit further, it would be if you have your entire music collection on iTunes, you go with Apple. If you use Google Play, you use Google, obviously. And if you have Amazon Prime Music, then you go with Amazon and their product. Like, I think that's
You're
what
you're
Apple,
absolutely right. And the thing is that you can play other music on all these devices. So Spotify, if you have your music in Spotify, then you have a big decision because you can play Spotify music in all these places.
that's
The same with Pandora and other things. But you're absolutely right, Ben. Where if you have invested a lot of money into music and you don't feel like you want to move that digital music around, that makes a big difference.
That I think is going to be, the make or break point for Apple, because I think in a lot of cases they have relied and leaned heavily upon the fact that people have a very robust iTunes, kind of library. And I think Apple, with a number of their products, have said that, people don't want to navigate away from iTunes. iTunes is our bread and butter. So if we put iTunes compatibility in it, it's going to be a success no matter what. I think what you just said right there about Spotify, about Pandora, that might be the breaking point for Apple, because I know people who have bought hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of music, but it's just so much more convenient to get new music and all the music you want through services like those you mentioned. It could be a big problem for the HomePod.
Right. On top of that, Google and Amazon both have ways to, in other words, anything I put into iTunes, it can be transferred immediately without my doing anything into Google Home, Google Play.
Right.
So if they start to market that sort of thing, that it's available, that people can easily transfer their stuff over, that would also hurt Apple. But I think you're right. It is people who are heavily invested in iTunes that are going to be the first ones looking at the Apple HomePod.
Yeah, and then a few other products that we didn't even get to mention because we're just flat out of time. But Alexa and Amazon with Alexa specifically, they've been very open about third party. So you can check out companies such as Sonos and many other third party speakers that have the capability of Alexa, but through a different company. So a lot of choices out there. And with that, Sandy, I'm gonna have to say, we're out of time. If people want to find out more about you, your writings, your musings, where can they go?
Please come visit me at compukiss.com. That's COMPUKISS.com. I'm working on reinventing my newsletters, but I invite all of you to come on board. Just go ahead and sign up for the newsletter. It will be coming out soon, and love to have new visitors.
Awesome. Definitely check that out. And everyone, link to CompuKiss.com definitely in the show notes and everything that we talked about. And Sandy, with that, I'll say thank you so much. This was, I think, a good one show that we can point people to if they want to know more about smart speakers. So thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone. All right, and bye-bye, Sandy, and everyone out there. Thank you for tuning in to Computer America, and tune in tomorrow as we check out, there she goes, as we check out smart pictures technology. That's right. And we're going to be talking, all about AR app and cloud storage and things like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Everyone, we're out of time. Catch us next time, Computer America. Same time, same place. Everyone, have a great day.